Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Islam on the Block with my brother Abdullah and my brother Asadullah. All three of us being from Los Angeles, the city, we're going to take some time out today to dive into the culture of Los Angeles.
A unique part of the culture.
Yes, very unique part of the culture. On the block, as we lived it, as we saw it. And we want to try to bring this into our Islam and how we began to convert from that mentality and those actions over into an Islamic mentality and being Muslims and trying to practice Islam, and then elevating from that and trying to practice the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have with us here our brother Asadullah, and who's from Los Angeles, right?
No.
Yeah.
And he's the second generation Muslim. Unlike being a brother, we first generation, but then later our parents also became Muslims. But this brother has Muslim parents. He's not so
Muslim father.
Muslim father, alhamdulillah. So, he's a second generation Muslim. So, his perspective is, a little different from us, but at the same time, a lot of similarities because, that's how LA was back then. LA, the streets was pulling in people from everywhere. And, it almost didn't matter, like we mentioned in previous episodes, how the brother was from an affluent background, but the streets was calling. And this is one of the things that we want to show it that, it's not always that you from a broken home and, impoverished. No, it's, the streets, they have an allure. And, especially as now being Muslim parents, knowing that we have to try to prevent our children from following in the footsteps of some of the things that we did before we got on this path of Quran and Sunnah.
No. And the amazing part of that is, subhanAllah, I tell people all the time that in my growing up, I never, out of all the things that I did, I never really got, addicted to drugs and getting high.
Right.
You know what I mean? My thing was making money. And, Allah saved me from that part. But the addiction of the streets was harder than the addiction of drugs.
Oh, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? It was like, if you get short on money and, your hustling gets low,
It's the first
then,
thing you remember.
you feel like you going, almost like convulsions. You got to get out and get your hustle on. So, and I mean in a real way. And then I want to do a little disclaimer, right? Islam being on the block, this is about real, situations. So, all of us now, we're family men. But we're just now starting to talk about some of our past. And this is after 20, 25 years, even Muslim al-Zayd. But for me and this brother, after 20, 30, 25, 30 something years, of being Muslim practicing Islam. And now we feel that there's some benefit in not only documenting the history, but talking about it, because now we see some of the younger generation now,
Right.
Especially Philly, New York, and these places, they're still caught up, in this culture of criminal activity, gangbanging and things like this, where many of us have come out of that, with family people, we have wives and children. But then also the allure of Islam and the discipline of the deen
Right.
was stronger than all of that. It brought us out of that.
Pulled you out of it.
Pull us out of that, But we want to go and start off touching on, you from the west side, huh?
Yeah, I grew up off of Normandy, in between Normandy and El Segundo, in an area they call West Athens.
Okay.
Yeah, my father.
No.
Now clarify for the people who
Because I
might know about
first question I asked is,
there's
are you
different
from
west
Athens?
sides.
Are you from
no.
Athens Park, man?
I grew up,
Yeah.
the area that I grew up in is the Raymonds.
Yeah.
120 Raymond's.
Yeah.
But really at that time, it was really nobody in my age range to put me on Raymond. Like I used to hang out around the corner from where I grew up. Everybody used to kick it at this one dude named Wizard at his house. And I would be on that block a lot, but it was really nobody in my age bracket. On the block that I lived on or the surrounding parts to put me on. So I would kick it with them, but one of my childhood friends, kind of like a brother, his father was doing a bid, and when he came home, he came to the house, and he was from where I ended up being from. So when he came, he was already into the culture, you know what I mean, as far as writing, you know what I mean. So he came, and that's how it was introduced to me. It was kind of like a family affair. So I started going out with him. We used to go to Hollywood Live. It was like a teen club, and that's when at that time you had to not only get put on, but you had to write on. It was like you had to have a certain skill set in order to be from where I was from.
And when you from is where though?
I'm from Trouble.
From Trouble.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah.
Trouble.
Now,
So
But at that time it was NBT, nothing but Trouble.
okay,
All right.
MBT.
and so tell the story of MBT. I mean, you know, because I remember when MBT, OTR, NTS, K-Dub, this was all writing crews before it evolved into,
Gangbang.
yeah, you know,
Or
so before, yeah.
Now I started
Because it
off,
was MBT and then it was Trouble Gang.
Yeah.
So like talk to us about how, you know, how you got started
okay.
and how it evolved, you know what I'm saying, from writing and like more like hip hop stuff like that into actual, you know.
It started, the influence came from that, from like b-boy culture. Like I was always into graffiti and art. My mother was an artist. She had like creative ability. So I had it and I was always interested into it just based off, because my family, just to go back a step further, my family is originally from Jamaica. But when they came to this country, they settled in New York. So the majority of my family stayed on the East Coast. My nana, my grandmother, and her brother, they migrated west. With that process, I had older cousins. Like, for instance, my cousin Hank, or Sugar Hill Gang, Big Bang Hank, that's one of my cousins on my father's side. Not a first cousin, but like a second, third, a distant cousin. So for my older cousins, that was something that, like, at any family get together, like, they would always like freestyle, they would rhyme, and graffiti, just everything that had to do with hip hop and b-boy culture was something that was, you know, like emulated or just something, you know what I'm saying, looked at, you know what I'm saying, in awe. So when my cousins would go back to visit family on the East Coast, I would have them bring me back pictures of graffiti and stuff like that. So I started writing for another crew called DFK. That was the first crew I was from, Dropping Fake Kings, and TD, which stood for Total Destruction. I heard about the Troubles, but it was really no troubles in the area that I lived. And the summer that my father caught his case, I had been reconnected with my cousin, Kamal, which was, he used to write Schwinn. We call him the Schwindler from MBT. So that's how I ended up getting pulled in and being from Trouble. We went to Hollywood Live. We had a structure and we called it rank. You know, so like somebody would rank, people with rank would have to approve you to get put on. First you would have to write on to see if you had strikes and you knew how to write. Because if you didn't know how to write, you was considered a tour. You couldn't be from the turf if you didn't have no writing skills. So I wrote on, got put on, and then they started introducing me to the people in my area. And then I had a homeboy named Each, they call him Pablo, that lived a few blocks from me. And then I kind of clicked up more so with what later evolved into what we call like the Southside Troubles. Like, because I had a lot of homeboys that went to school in Hawthorne.
So, but just as a side note, you said your pops called it beef.
Yeah, my father what how I ended up getting even drawn in, I think, is that I lost my father and my grandfather the same year.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost my grandfather to cancer, and my father was kidnapped by the DA and the FBI.
Mm.
So that kind of left me in a void as far as that masculine energy.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
And I bring that up also is because that's about the time that I met your father.
Yeah. So, but
because
my
I got kidnapped.
yeah.
No, literally, you know, I was like
No,
off
that's
the map.
what it is. It's kidnap.
Yeah,
When
no.
they come and they take you from your home against your will.
No, I was off the grid for about 4 or 5 days. Nobody knew where I was at for 4 or 5 days. They didn't take me down and then book me in the local jail. And no, the DEA came and gaffled me and took me to some spot. Only thing that I think I know was I was up in Pasadena Hills someplace. You know, they didn't take me down to the federal building. 4 or 5 days I was off the grid. I was gone. You know, so that's how they do you. And then, you know, during that time, basically what they doing is they trying to get you to snitch.
Yeah.
They like telling you, we not gonna book you in the system. We holding you here. Call somebody, do this, do that. But we're gonna let you walk.
Yeah, no, my father told me that.
Yeah, we're gonna let you walk. You know, and they do you like that. A week sometime, it depends if they think they're gonna break you. If they're gonna break you. If not, then they take you downtown to the federal building,
MDC.
and they book you in, and you like, okay, this is it now.
Yeah, nah. But, alhamdulillah, my father used to pull me out of school on Fridays.
Yeah.
Like, I never really liked school or the
Mhm.
public school system. Like, I found something recently going through some old stuff, like cleaning out, and it was like a report card from, they sent me to Montessori schools first off, and like private schools before I even start going to like magnet schools or public schools.
Mhm.
But in the Montessori school system, the lady had wrote a note to my parents saying like he's one of the rare children that doesn't like school.
Mhm.
Like, and I just didn't like the whole setting.
Mhm.
I mean, later on when I went to art school, I liked school, and I kind of learned from one of my teachers why I didn't like school. Like he just basically explained how the public school system in America was structured after a system that a small country in Europe named Prussia had created. And it's really, you know, set up to not educate, but more or less to indoctrinate.
Period.
And to program, into, you know what I'm saying, to make slaves. But alhamdulillah, my father, he would pull me out of school every Friday and take me to Juma. So even though the Sunnah wasn't really there because they came out of the first and they came out the nation, he planted them seeds of Islam in me, so that even when I went wayward and I got absorbed, I would always take that time to go to Juma. Like even when I wasn't, you know what I'm saying, right, or really practicing like that, it was something that it was in me. The seed might have lied dormant for a minute, but eventually, you know, it sprouted.
Alhamdulillah. That's good. That's good.
Right, so, but back to the trouble though. So, because I remember, I was heavy Lamert Park. I was heavy everywhere. You know, I used to be at Hollywood, just like, Hollywood Live, Ground Zero, all the spots. That's Inglewood. That's
Club
you know what I'm saying? Right, Club Nouveau. Oh, you taking it way back. Yeah, man. But I remember, back when I remember meeting the cats from NTS and OTR, and it just kind of seemed like boom, like trouble with NBT at the time, that it just kind of like I don't really know how deep y'all was until I was at Lamert one day, and they used to have that little notorious bus stop right there on Crenshaw and Vernon, right? You know what's up. Y'all used to make it tough to go to that Arco across the street, man. So, how did it go from just tagging? But even y'all kind of had because most tagging crews was just, if you could write, you could write. Y'all had that gang element kind of early with getting put on like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tell us
like,
about that.
Troubles it was like a combination of both. It wasn't no colors at that time. It was just NBT. But that you had to have squabbles. It wasn't just about, you know what I'm saying, writing. Like the troubles was, it was times when they hijacked buses. Or you had different type of writers, you know what I'm saying, as far as graffiti is concerned. Like you got people that do pieces, that do the big, elaborate, multicolors. Then you got writers. You got writers that target mostly getting landmarks, meaning not moving art objects. But at that time, we was like bus riders. That was big, like mobbing the buses. Even how you see the advertisements today, the way that they advertise on buses, I believe that's something that we influence.
No doubt.
Because
because buses never had
writing and advertisement on it. Like we used to get driver side.
Straight RTD.
Yeah,
now, for
we
the
would
people
get destination.
who might be watching, I want them to know what mobbing is. That's when the bus stop and the cats who write, they attack it from all angles.
Kill it.
You know, we try to get the grill,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
back of
scribing the window,
glass.
everything.
Driver side,
Yeah.
passenger side, destination, even the front window.
Yeah.
We mob buses to the point where we shut them down. Like
Yeah.
they can't even move.
Yeah,
The driver can't see. We didn't hit the front
Right.
window, killed it. Like
yeah.
if it was a well.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, man. It was a prestige. It was certain. If you got a grill
Yeah.
and you got a windshield, oh, that was like you was that dude.
Or if you got up, like he said, that addiction.
Yeah.
It's the same concept of advertising, just in a guerrilla form.
Yeah.
If I'm all city and I didn't mob and I didn't hit the whole city and my name is up everywhere, the people that are into that culture, they see that. The females see that. They, you know what I mean? Like it was one writer in the city. He wasn't from trouble, but like
Chaka,
like
world famous.
just world famous, all city.
I got up with Chaka one day, man. Look, I remember me and my guys, you know what I'm saying, my man Irie, Gator, some other cats, man, we was in Compton. And so we saw Chaka. We saw him. He was a little short dude. He wasn't he was a little short Latino cat. And we saw him getting up, so we went and said, yo, man, because he was up everywhere. So we was like, yo, man, tell us how you do it. That cat told us, man, that all he do was walk. So he when we had caught up to him in Compton, he said, yeah, I just been walking down Long Beach Boulevard from the beginning of Long Beach Boulevard, and I'm going all the way to the end. I think I'm getting up the whole way. And so we walked with him for about maybe 5 miles. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he just was getting up everywhere. He just was peeping him. You know what I'm saying? But so, I mean, people used to be dedicated to tagging. And he was one of the biggest. So, and like he said, man, you would be like hood famous for it. Word.
Yeah, nah.
Wow.
I don't know, the evolution into gang culture kind of because at that time too, you had the preppy gangsters. Like my cousin I was telling you about, Touche, he was from a clique called Southside Posse. And these was the older people that kind of influenced me, that I looked up to my older cousins that, was already absorbed into gang culture. But for us at that time, we was kind of still influenced by that early hip hop, you know what I mean? And that East Coast influence as far as KRS-One or Boogie Down Productions, that conscious element. So yeah, De La Soul. They used to call us bumper heads because a lot of times we would have our hair, you know what I'm saying, with dreads or braids on the top, and we would dress baggy. So we set a trend in a sense as far as fashion for what they call today fly gripping. You know what I mean? And that kind of was also influenced too by the preppy gangsters, the sex jerks or the KODs. Where I lived,
taking it back.
In the area that I lived in, it was a lot of sex jerks. And I went to from the South Flats. And I went to 4th grade, I got bussed out into North Hollywood. And that was really my first time going to, not a public school, but a school to where I was around other black people. Because I went to private school. I went to school in Rolling Hill Estates first, then I went to Montessori schools. And then they sent me to like magnet schools, a trilingual magnet in Gardena.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really around black people
Yeah.
outside of when I went outside to go hang out where I lived.
Yeah.
But on those, immediate surrounding blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody was older than me that I hung out with. Yeah. This was the first time that I was hanging out with other black kids from the other blocks further out.
Mm-hmm.
And I became friends with Lil Spook from Sex Jerks.
Mm-hmm.
So they had their own little style of dress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would wear polo, taper khakis, creepers.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of influenced us, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Their way of dress. And then we kind of created our own little style of fashion that really influenced the rest of the city beyond just that standard, t-shirt and khakis.
T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things I should think of, like was like because that would take cats by surprise, because they was like that, rocking the low and the jabos and all stuff like that. And I remember, I was at what was that spot that was on King? It's a laundromat now. It was
On King and what?
It was on
Going towards the jungles?
No.
Going towards the avenues?
No, it was on King and Western. Like not on the corner though, like maybe like a block or two over. It was in the 40s.
Club?
Yeah.
Oh, Club Nouveau?
Was that Club Nouveau?
Club Nouveau was on King.
Okay, so yeah. So I remember it was a cat. He was from 40s. And man, the troubles did him in because he was like, he was with that rah-rah. He was like, where y'all from? He thought, because, they were just like us, right? Low, what I'm saying? All that stuff. And man, they got at you. He wasn't even expecting it because,
a lot of us was little. Like, we wasn't, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, at one point in time, it was really nobody over 18 from trouble. So the other gangs that had that hierarchy, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times we would, at first, we might be intimidated. Like, oh, he from such and such.
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing that he not the one that gave him that rep. You know what I'm saying? Like, he not, like, for instance, like with the 60s, like, that's not Kid Rock. That's not Rambo.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't lay that foundation. He didn't get him that reputation. And when you take off on him and chin checking, he fall just like a K-Dub or anybody else.
Yeah.
Like, because they not, I don't know, we used to fight a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we stayed tear dumping and stayed rumbling and stayed fighting. So it was kind of like that first generation in a sense with Crippin', where it was a time where you had to come from the shoulders. It wasn't no gunplay.
Yeah, for sure.
So we had that at first, like it wasn't no fighting. Somebody might have got stabbed, or even with like the prep gangs, like they was known for carrying like them little Dodger bats and other type of weapons, to where it's like we rumble, like ain't no gunplay, ain't no shooting, but you finna get
You finna fight.
yeah, or you might get packed out.
Yeah.
Like if you fight one of us, you finna fight all
Every
of
single
us.
time.
Like ain't no such thing as a fair one. Like
Yeah. So then how did it become where cats from other gangbanging hoods would be a part of that also?
it was like you said, like that allure. Like the Troubles had kind of became renowned in the city. And then it was different cliques of Troubles. So they might not have necessarily gang banged first, but they might have had gang affiliation from their family. Even though some did. And it would, at times, it would be minor little skirmishes or internal beef. You know what I'm saying? Like if two of the homies disagree, then they want to resort back to where they from. Like I had a homie Russ from A-Trap. And my homeboy Sizer, he from 6 But we all Troubles, we from NBT. But if they have a little disagreement, then they would, you know what I mean? They want to put that to the side, and beef on them terms. But we had West Side Trouble, we had East Side Troubles. A lot of the East Side Troubles, my homeboy Snoop, Cisco, Lil Spike. Me and Lil Spike was real tight. A lot of them turned East Coast just because that's where they live. Like it was an
So
evolution.
they turned East Coast Crip.
They turned East Coast Crip. A lot of the troubles, it was troubles that lived in the jungles. They turned BPS because it evolved from NBT, and then it got like just that influence, and then just that level of consciousness shifted. So now you got other like that. I think a lot of it too was just that whole like influx of gang culture, even with the music. You know what I mean? Like if you look at that first generation of Crippin', they didn't listen to gangster rap.
Well, yeah, because at first there was no.
It was no gangster rap. You know what I mean?
It was real
music.
Hip-hop.
Gangsta niggas would listen, but not even hip hop. They would
Not
listen
yet.
to Anita Baker. They would listen to oldies.
Yeah.
They would listen to a different type of music. So then when you start getting artists like Spice One, Compton's Most Wanted, NWA.
That's a big gap, man.
But that's still when
but
we start transitioning to NBTG, Nothing But Trouble Gang. You know what I'm saying? And then it just dropped the NB.
And it's just a trouble
It's
gang.
TGC, Trouble Gangster Crip. But during that phase, a lot of people got sucked in to wherever they was from. Like for instance, my homeboy Abel.
And when you say where it was from, it's like, that's like
Where they
what
grew-
neighborhood.
what neighborhood,
That's
where
what
they
everyone
grew
want
up.
to know. People who not from LA, they don't understand that, sometimes you might not be an active gangbanger, but you live in that hood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you're going to have to, there's no choice.
Like,
You know what I'm saying?
I had two homeboys from Shotgun, Abuse and Abel. Abel, rest in peace. Abel, and again, they always troubles because that foundation is Leimert Park. And the troubles just got, the Trub line it's a different type of constitution. It's just, so that core essence of them, they still troubles, even if they didn't went off and they didn't turn to another hood. And a lot of times they come back. And it's not that same type of, like you a transformer or you a turncoat. You know what I mean? It's like, no, this is where your family is from. This is the area that you grew up in. Your people pulled you in, but your heart is still with the turf. So a lot of times they would come back, but it was just that influence of the gang culture in the city, and then coupled with them other elements that to where you just get absorbed. Like it's all alluring and it's all addictive.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just something that it just suck you in.
Snatches you in.
Yeah.
All right, so then, so now, at one point, I remember back in the day, like, I didn't know your pops because he was, like an older cat, but I remember seeing your pops, you know what I'm saying? So, when did he touch back down?
My father, he came home. He caught his case. I was in the 8th grade going into the 9th grade. He came back home on an appeal bond, I want to say when I was in the 11th grade, and tried to fight his case. The bond got revoked, and he basically had to do 85% of his time on the first offense, and that was like 10 years. So he didn't come home until, I want to say, the late 90s.
Yeah,
Something like that.
So then in the interim,
About the same time as me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he came home right before me because I
Maybe
came
like
home in
98.
99.
Yeah, 98.
I came home in 99, so he came home before me.
Yeah.
so in that little time frame, how did that affect you? Because you had mentioned earlier about the lack of male energy.
Yeah. It wasn't really a lack of male energy because alhamdulillah, his friends, I call them my uncles because they was all Muslim. So they kind of picked up the slack and laced my boots. So I lost my father and I lost my grandfather, meaning that I had that direct male energy, that direct male influence, because I don't think I would have even gangbanged or I would have even took this route if I had one of them. in my life. My mother's father was a Tuskegee Airman, like highly educated. And even when I was in high school, my father had made arrangements for me to go to school in Malaysia, to university. The issue was just where the soil in which my father planted his seed. You know what I mean? A lot of women in this city, in this society, they don't enter into Islam wholeheartedly. You know, they get caught up on the man. If they like you, then they gonna pretend to like what you upon. And then, you know, unfortunately, when people not dealing properly, we had this thing of dick and dowry. You know what I'm saying? Like, you giving her dick and dowry, so her head is spinning. So she enters into it to please you, but she don't enter into it wholeheartedly. She don't enter into it sincerely.
And if something happens with that relationship, then
then everything happens. Islam
everything
leaves.
goes.
So when my father left, the Islam left. The Quran was there. You know what I'm saying? But as far as my mother, she never entered into the deen wholeheartedly. So she apostated. So everything that my father stood, nothing was reinforced. To where if my grandfather was there, I would have had a passport. I would have had a ticket to Malaysia to go to the university to see it. But at 16, my mother took a life insurance policy out on me. When my other homeboys, like for instance, my homeboy Lil Spike from Eastside Trouble, he getting into trouble. He's in and out. His mother don't want to bury her son. She ship him back to Louisiana where they from. She tricks him, summer vacation come, like, oh, you finna go visit your people. He think it's just a routine, you know, go visit them for the summer, come back. Nah, you got a one-way ticket, you're not coming back. Because I'm not finna bury you. But because of my father not planting his seed in the right soil, they chose to try to capitalize off of my demise.
For sure.
And took a life insurance policy out. But, you know, his, like for instance, one that was real close to me, Wali Shamsuddin.
Oh, that's my man.
Yeah, he was one of the regional captains from the Nation of Islam. Omar Sharif.
That's my man.
Brother Albert, Big Azim, Rahimullah. All of these was the people that in my father's actions pulled me in and finished grooming me.
So that means you couldn't go too far because there's some characters right there.
Yeah, I mean they
some OGs.
Triple.
Yeah. So I still had male influence. I just didn't have my father's. You know, because in Islam, your grandfather, that's your father.
For sure.
You know, so I had that, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.